Hey, what's up, guys? It's a Sports Blitz here, and we're back with another 2022 NFL record prediction. Before I get into it, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Guys, we have a goal of hitting 1,450 subscribers now, about 25 subscribers away. So if you could help me reach that goal, that'd be awesome. Today, we have the Washington Commanders that we're predicting. We're going to look at their depth chart first thing. I am going to say right off the bat, I'm not in love with their roster. There are a few spots that I think they could definitely get better at, but let's go ahead and go over it. So first thing, quarterback Carson Wentz. Wentz has the potential to be pretty decent with the Commanders. I don't think he was quite as terrible with the Colts as people were saying, but where this is definitely becoming a league that it's they kind of get carried by the quarterback, and the rest of the roster isn't necessarily great either. I don't know how well Carson Wentz is going to be able to carry this team. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if later in the season, maybe Sam Howell ended up playing. I did like the pickup of Sam Howell. I think he has some good potential. I'm not saying he's going to be the starter this year. I'm not saying he should be the starter this year. I'm just saying if Carson Wentz struggles, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sam Howell play a little bit later this season. I will say I really like their running backs, literally all four of them. Antonio Gibson is a very underrated running back, and then, even behind him, J.D. McKissick is solid. Brian Robinson, I was pretty high on him in the draft. I think he's going to be good. And then Jarrett Patterson, he was undrafted this last year, and really he looked really good in the preseason, and then what few snaps he did have in the regular season, I thought he looked pretty good. Honestly, I would expect all of these guys to get a pretty decent amount of touches this year. If they can become a run-first team, it may be a pretty decent offense. So going over to the receivers, I do also like the receivers. I think they have a really solid starting three with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. Curtis Samuel gets hurt a lot. I don't really know. I don't know what to expect, if he's going to stay healthy or if he's going to get hurt again early on. So that's going to be something to watch. I really liked Jahan Dotson in the draft. I thought it was a solid pick. I thought it may have been a little bit early for them at 16. They probably could have honestly traded back a few spots before picking him up, get some more value, but Dotson is a good player. I also really like Diami Brown. I think he has some good potential as well. So yeah, they've got some good potential there at receiver. Logan Thomas is good when he's healthy. Issue is he's also kind of had a hard time staying healthy, so that's going to be something to monitor. Going over to the offensive line, I don't love it, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Charles Leno. In fact, he's actually getting pretty old, isn't he? Let me hurry and see how old he is. I think he's getting pretty up there in age. Yeah, he's 30. He'll be 31 this season. So, not like insanely old, but he's kind of getting up there in age. But I'm not a huge fan of him, to be honest. Andrew Norwell still plays at a pretty decent level. I think he is going to be one of the brighter spots for that offensive line this year. Not a huge fan of Chase Rulier as well. I don't think he's necessarily a terrible center, but he's not really what I'd call a bright spot on that offensive line, if that makes sense. Right guard, I think it'll definitely be a big training camp battle between Wes Schweitzer and Trey Turner. I know Ron Rivera likes Trey Turner. I mean, he was there in Carolina a lot of his time there, so I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Turner wins out that battle. But either one, I think they'd be a fairly solid piece there. Then Sam Cosmi. I mean, this is, I believe, his only his second year, I believe. So maybe it's a little bit early to judge, but I'm not exactly super high on him either, but don't know quite what to expect. If he can overperform, it can be a decent offensive line. I'm not expecting top 10. It may possibly be top 15 if Cosmi, overperforms. And, really the rest of the line is just decent. But I don't know. I'm expecting them to be in that like 15 to 20 range. So going over to the defense, they've got a lot of potential here, okay? I mean, the D-line is stacked, okay? You can't argue with that. They've got Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat. Even behind them, you've got Fedarian Mathis. I mean, heck, their fourth D end, F.A. Obata, I think he's going to work his way up the depth chart and play pretty decent too. So they've got some good D linemen. But going to linebackers, Cole Holcomb is pretty decent. Jamin Davis, I think, is pretty decent. David Mayo, little bit of a weaker spot, but not terrible. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a liability, just not necessarily, one of the guys that carries the defense. Secondary, they do have Kendall Fuller. I believe they just signed William Jackson this offseason, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was with them last year. I could be wrong. Could be wrong about that, but I don't think he was with them last year. If that's the case, that was a good pickup. Because I do like William Jackson. And really, they needed secondary help. Okay? So, good pickup. Not a huge fan of Bobby McCain at free safety, so that is definitely a big hole for me. But they do have Cameron Curl at strong safety. I really liked him. He was kind of in that same debate 2 years ago between him, Jeremy Chin, and Antoine Winfield, who is basically a big debate of which one of them is the best. And honestly, I could see debates for all three of them. Okay, so Cam Curl, pretty solid. They've got a lot of playmakers on this defense. They've got the potential. It's just, I don't know if they're going to be able to put it together. Because a lot of these guys, they had last year as well. And it wasn't a very good season for them. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see how it turns out. But, with that said, let's go ahead and jump on into the record prediction. All right, so I have already done the Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys record predictions, and I will say I'm giving the Commanders a 1-5 divisional record. The Eagles and Cowboys are both going to be really, really good teams this year. I am extremely high on the Eagles, and I think the Cowboys are going to be a good team too. I really do. So I had them both sweeping the Commanders, but then them splitting with the Giants. I'm not super high on the Giants either. I had them going 5-12. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm just going to give the Commanders fans, a heads up early on. I'm not super high on them this year. And I'll say, I'm not an expert at this. I'm not saying, the Commanders are going to suck or anything like that. This is just my predictions. Don't attack me in the comments. But, so week 1, they've got the Jaguars. Literally every game I've predicted so far this year with the Jaguars in it, I've predicted the Jaguars to lose. I don't think they're necessarily going to go 0-17. Okay, I'm not expecting them to be a good team, but not 0-17. And they do tend to start off the season pretty well, and I'm talking like the first game, maybe the first 2 games. So I am going to go with Jacksonville right here. Week 2, I am going to go with the Lions because Dan Campbell is doing a really good job at building that team. I think it's definitely trending upward. I think it's going to be a good team. So, guys, I'm going to be honest. Washington fans, you're not going to like this prediction. Okay? If you're a Washington fan and you struggle with some of people's predictions, you might want to just click away. So, Titans, I think Titans are going to win. I think Justin Fields will get the Bears a couple wins here and there. I really do. I think Fields is probably the only bright spot on that team. Well, Eddie Jackson as well, but that's about it. So, yeah, they are going to start off this season 0-8, but I think they're going to get a sneak win against the Minnesota Vikings. I just feel like their defensive line will do a decent job at slowing down Dalvin Cook. And yeah, I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling. If that was in Minnesota, I'd probably lean Minnesota right there. But I think this is a trap game, and I think Washington can win it. Here we have Washington at the Texans. Much like the Jaguars, I mean, the Texans aren't a good team, but I'm not going to expect them to go 0-17, okay? I'm just not. So I'm going to have the Texans win it, but I do think the Commanders will bounce back the following week and beat the Falcons. So jumping down, I do think the 49ers will win and the Browns will win. So overall, it's going to give them a 3-14 record, okay? Again, Commanders fans, don't attack me too much. I know this isn't what you want to see. They have potential on the roster. I'm not saying, this is for sure what they're going to be. It's just they had a lot of that talent last year too, and they couldn't put it together. As much as I like Ron Rivera, I think after this bad record, I think he ends up getting fired. Also with the issues with, Dan Snyder and the ownership and everything, I could see him possibly being forced to sell the team. And honestly, I think it's going to turn into like a complete rebuild after this year. Like completely cleaning house and starting from scratch. That's just my prediction here. So again, Commanders fans, don't attack me. It's just how I feel about them this year. So, but again, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later.